All right, so kids are back in school and it's time to start thinking about their financial future. And part of that, mom and dad, is helping them build their credit score and to set them up for when they graduate high school. Here to talk about that with us is Sara Rathner, and she is with NerdWallet. She's a credit card expert. All right, so when it comes to this, I think a lot of parents go, oh my God, you seriously want to give my kid a credit card?
Not necessarily. It depends on their age and it honestly depends on the kid. So even if they're far too young to have a credit card, you can at least teach them how credit cards work. So when they're old enough, they don't make some of the same mistakes you might have made at a similar age.
Sure, and a lot of parents would say, well, they've got a debit card that I can help monitor, but a debit card doesn't work the same as a credit card when it comes to building credit.
Yes, there are some really important differences between credit and debit cards. And a big one is your debit card is not going to help you build credit. Your payment activity is not reported to credit bureaus with a debit card. It serves a lot of other purposes for kids because in our increasingly cashless society allows kids to have some spending money and make purchases in stores. But when it comes to building credit, debit cards are not it.
All right, so if we're talking about doing this whole credit card thing with our kids so that they can help build credit, what is a good way to start with that?
One way a lot of parents start is by adding their child as an authorized user on their own credit card. But could potentially be some age limitations there. Some cards don't allow you to add authorized users under the age of 13, and some cards won't report payment activity to the kids' credit bureau accounts until they're 18. So you might not be able to build their credit from the time they're born, but you might still be able to help your late teenage or young adult child build credit by having them piggyback on your own responsible activity.
All right, now what about if there's got to be credit cards, right, that have like a certain limit on them so that we as parents can go, okay, no matter what you spend, I know you're not going to spend more than this.
Some credit cards allow you to set spending limits for authorized users, but some don't. So if you add your child as an authorized user, you want to have a conversation about what their budget might be and what sorts of purchases might be acceptable to you, the primary user of the card, because you are always responsible for paying all of the bills.
Okay, but we can get a credit card in the child's name like after they're 18.
Yes, so people can apply for credit cards in their own name if they're 18 with an independent source of income, or if they're 21 and up with reasonable access to household income. That's the fancy way of saying if they are still financially supported by somebody else, like their parents or a spouse.
Okay, and so a lot of people at home might be like, okay, why is it so important that they're building credit at age 19, 20, 21?
Having a good credit score, or even better, an excellent credit score, can open a lot of doors for you, even as a very young adult. When you are applying for a rental home, even some jobs, access to accounts with utility companies, cell phone plans, your credit score might be something that is considered as part of that process. And so by building your credit, you make it easier to access all these things you're going to need as a young adult.
All right, and so if parents are trying to like, help their kids build that credit and stuff like that, is something, I don't know, for example, like, charging your gas on it and knowing that you're paying that off because you know that that is something that you're going to have to use anyway, not just spending money to spend money and then pay it off.
Yeah, these are good lessons for people of any age, but teaching your kids even well before they're old enough to have credit cards, either in your name or theirs, just understanding, using the credit card very thoughtfully for purchases you were going to make anyway, and knowing that you have the money in the bank to pay your bill in full on time, ideally. Debt does happen for lots of different reasons, but you want to talk these things out with your kids. So by the time they're making their own financial decisions, they're coming at it from a place of confidence and knowledge.
Right, and they actually do have to charge something and pay it off to build up credit. They can't just have a credit card.
Yes. Well, having a credit, you can make very small charges and pay them off. But yeah, it's what's really important is paying your bills on time every month. So even if you're in a situation where you can't afford to pay the entire bill, maybe you were faced with an unexpected emergency, at least making the minimum required payment on time can help keep your account in good standing. And then obviously you want to get a plan in place to pay off that debt as aggressively as you possibly can.
All right, all the wisdom from NerdWallet. We so appreciate you and your time. This is going to be in the Two Wants to Know section of our website. Right now, we're going to take a look at the forecast.